Hi everybody, my name is Ihab Darwish and I'll be your instructor for this course. The course title is Introduction to Network Security and the course number is TEL 369. The course outline, there are going to be 10 chapters for this course. The first chapter is going to be an introduction to security, where we talk about the basics of security and why security or computer network security is important. We will then move into chapter 2, where we discuss information security. And information security, it is going to be related to the e-crime or computer crime, and we'll be discussing topic related to how hackers can penetrate the network and what are the type or methods of hacking, including from the external attack versus internal attacks. We'll talk about also different roles for the security officers that can play a major in terms of risk management and managing the risks of security. Chapter 3 will be discussing the key concepts related to the information security and the security model that exists. We will talk about different models that is related to security, to the security, in addition to different terminologies that associated to security. Cryptography is very much closely related to chapter 3, which is going to be in chapter 4, where we discuss the encryption standards and the different techniques and standards that are available and exist for cryptography and encryption. Then we move into chapter 5, which is related to the network basics. We talk about the different types of networks and different aspects associated to the standards, the protocols. We'll talk about TCP/IP and UDP and other protocols. Then we move on to chapter 6, where we talk about network standards and protocols pertaining or related to the information security and network security. Chapter 7, we discussed the devices, the actual devices, the security devices associated with different layers of the defense model, defense security model. We'll talk about layer 1, that is the perimeter layer security device, which is the firewall. We'll talk about in chapter 8, layer 2 and 3 devices associated with the defense model, which is the network security device, which is the intrusion detection system. Then our last section will be chapter 9 and 10. And chapter 9, we talk about security threats and types of attacks and the different attacks, the different types of attacks, and how to maneuver and how to prevent from those attacks, and the different policy that should exist is going to be also covered in chapter 9 and 10. We begin our first chapter, which is Introduction to Security, chapter 1, with 3 key objectives. The first key objective related to this chapter is what is computer and network security? And the second objective is why is computer and network security is important? The third objective, which is the security attacks and the different type of security attacks and the threats and how those have been evolved and developed over time. We begin the first introduction to the topic here. Security incidents have been rising, and there have been so much incidents since the past decade, and it's increasing rapidly, and therefore, because of those different threats from or security threats, because of the increase, we need definitely to have a security measures in order to protect our network. That's why data centers and network operator, as well as information system professionals, they need to understand the basics of security so they can develop certain policies in order to ensure that they are deployed and their environment is secured properly. Therefore, this course will talk about the fundamental of security and the fundamental of network systems in terms of security. We'll talk about different devices related to security, such as the firewall, the intrusion detection devices. We'll talk about topology. We'll talk about security protocols. We'll talk about different concepts related to terminologies, cryptography, as well as attacks and prevention measures associated to the attacks. The first topic of this chapter is, what is computer and network security? This is a good question. Is we need to define the computer and network security. It is defined actually that you can say that the computer and network security, this is like, we need to identify all the possible measures that help us in identifying, preventing, detecting, and correcting security violence to computers and to the information that is passing through this computer and networks. So in short, so it is about the definition of the computer network security is about identifying and preventing and detecting and correcting the security violence to computers and networks during information transmission. And now, as I mentioned in my introduction, there are two types of threats or breaches that could be associated to computer network security. The first type is from external people or external users, what we call external security breaches and threats. And the other type is internal security breaches and threats. Now, as far as the external security breaches and threats, it is usually done by hackers from outside, and there are, every day we hear a different story about a system that is being attacked, or a company that is being their system that is being attacked by different hackers. Not too long ago, the Department of Defense, the DoD, was a victim of a successful hacker raid. And as a result, there was certain data that has been captured by hackers. And fortunately, those data were not really much related to national security. They were more related to payroll and personal. It's non-classified personal. But in general, the DoD was under attack at that time. Now, most recently, I would recall that in 2011, there was a Sony, what we call Sony hack. The Sony, there was a hacker that was able to penetrate the Sony network and infrastructure, and specifically related to the PlayStation network, and was able to capture the database of 77 million members. Okay, and this attack by itself has cost Sony a great amount of money, which is approximately $170 million, or maybe a bit more. Now, different websites, they are always under attack. They are always hacked. Okay, for example, a few years ago, Yahoo, Amazon, and eBay were under attack, and specifically were targeted to what is called coordinated denial of service attack, where some computers or different computers, they try to send too much packets and data to the server or to the website in order to make the website not being able to process this information, and will overflow its memory. So as a result of that, this will bring the services down of the website and other services. Now, you can't imagine how severe this could be if it was a financial website or a financial system. So this could result in great loss of finance, or great loss of money. Now, some of the most other recent information security breaches is also provided in the table 1-1. For example, Blue Cross Blue Shields in 2009, their system also was hacked. It contains some database of over than 850,000 physicians. It was stolen and it was captured. Kaiser Hospital also in 2009 was hacked. And this resulted in some kind of privacy violation that is done by there are 27 employees that they were able to track or to hack the system of Kaiser Hospital, and those that were identified, and they were given a big fine. Now, TGX in 2005 also there was a big attack on their system. One final thing in this list, there is the U.S. military in 2009, and also there was some information was hacked due to some kind of storage went into repair, and somebody was able to capture this data, but unfortunately also it was not sensitive, or was not a security threat to the nation. Now, as far as internal security breaches and threats, okay, these we face it because from employees, from internal employees, from former employees, those they have malicious intent. They want to revenge, or they want to obtain information as, for example, employee salaries and other sensitive data. There was a good example in computer world recently about a story about a programmer who was an employee for a certain company, and this programmer, he was not in good agreement and good term with his management and his company, and he decided to launch what is called a denial of service attack against his own company to show them that their infrastructure was vulnerable. And of course, this was a financial firm. This has caused the financial firm to be offline and to lose a lot of money. And then finally, the U.S. Secret Service was eventually employed, and this employee was tracked, and he was subsequently arrested. With regards to the next topic here, which is security and risk monitoring, because of those external and internal attacks that is happening every day, that's why there should be some kind of a security policy and risk monitoring policy, and every organization should invest on those areas. That's why there's a need for a daily routine of check, and there has to be some kind of essential guidelines, essential procedures to safeguard the company's information assets. Now, the most reliable one is to ensure that their system is behind the closed door or locked door, but this is not always the case, because you cannot leave the equipment, you cannot leave the servers without being networked, because they are being utilized heavily when they are networked. So because of that, that's why we need to implement some kind of procedures, some kind of certain tasks and steps in order to ensure that our infrastructure are being secured even when they are exposed to the outsiders. So that's why there are hundreds of millions of dollars are being spent in security and related security, and as a way to prevent from something even much higher than that, which is a loss of information that could cause some companies to go out of business if that happened. The second topic of chapter 2 is related to why is computer and network security important. For sure, this is a very important question. Computer and network security is important because we have to make sure that our organization and our data are being secured enough so that nobody else can access those resources. That's why computer network security is important, because we have certain desire and certain reasons for that. Now, the first reason is in order to protect the company's assets. So the company has great assets in terms of hardware and in terms of software, and most importantly is the information assets. And that's why we need to make sure that this information is available and is not being under attack, and this will make sure that we are protecting our data. We have good integrity in terms of the validity of data, and most importantly, the availability of information or the data. Our data is being available to people. Now, the second reason why computer and network security is important is to gain, of course, competitive advantage with or against the competitors. By having a secured environment, this gives a message to our client and customers that our system is secure, and this will push those customers to come to us because our system is secure. Especially, this is a good example would be in banking industry, a bank's internet banking system. Okay, imagine if the certain banking system is being hacked. Do you think that this will be a good attraction to customers? Definitely not. That's why being able to gain the competitive advantage against different competitors, and this could be the second reason. The third reason is, of course, is to be able to comply. So we need to implement security measures for computer networks in order to comply with regulatory and requirements and legal and ethical responsibility. So we need to follow the legal requirements that set by the government in terms of ensuring the data is the integrity of data. That's why we need to ensure the safety and soundness of the organizations by including certain kind of procedures and measures in order to have the operation doing its business in continuous basis. There is an example about that, is that most financial institutions are subject to federal regulation because they need to ensure that their system and their data is being preserved and audited with certain kind of internal auditing practices. Now, the next reason why computer and network security is important is that in order to keep our job. Because if we cannot secure our environment, it means that our job could be also subject to loss because we are not doing or performing our duties accordingly or according to the proper standards. That's why here we need to secure our position in the company by ensuring that the organization is secured and protected, and it is not going to lose its assets because of that. Now, one thing also to keep in mind, that which is the last thing, that network security costs money, and it is true. It costs money to make. It costs money to in order to secure the environment. But as a result of network security, yes, it is not cheap. But however, this is going to be probably cheaper than the cost associated with having the organization's network compromised. So that's why we need to invest money in order to save a great amount of money by not compromising the infrastructure and network assets of the organization. The last topic of this chapter is about the security attacks and threats evolution over time. We need to understand that since the IBM mainframe existed back in the 1950s, there was much less security procedures, much less security threats, because it was based on a mainframe environment. So the only security threat was the physical security threats. In other words, people accessing the mainframe room or trying to steal or take the storage media from the mainframe environment from that room. Now, as I indicate in the diagram here, okay, these are the type of attacks and threats evolution over time. They in the 1950s and the 1960s and 1970s until the 1980s even, the only threat was the physical threat. And the physical threat means that the environment, the computer data center room, and so on. But once the network started to to be implemented in the 1990s, and the internet paradigm has shifted our thought. That's why we started to have attacks over the network. That's why we started to have network attacks, and then this has continued until the year 2000, where we started to have more application which is related to email applications and different applications for the ERP, for example, wireless application. That's why also those started to have or to cause security threat. And the recent thing back in 2010, or in the previous few years, we had a new type of applications that is related to the client side, mobile side, social networking or social application. Now those are becoming also a security threat to us. So as you can see, that's the evolution, because of the technology is expanding, because of the internet paradigm, because of introducing wireless devices. That's why we have to make sure that there are security in place. Thank you.